Hello, everyone. I am coming to you in a very bittersweet way today. This is my first time in the studio without my trusted co host, Bob Meyer. Early in January, we unexpectedly lost Bob, and we have just been taking a break to process Bob's passing and just to give a little space to work through all of the emotions that come with grief. So, as I mentioned, very much bittersweet to be back here without him. I had reached out to Bob about the podcast more than a year ago before we unveiled this. And I just remember having a conversation with him about how I've always looked up to all of our ag broadcasters because that is not my background. And I know it takes a very special talent. But Bob's a voice that you remember. And when I first started my career at Farm Bureau, he was wrapping up his ag broadcast career. And I just remember the first time hearing his voice and thinking, man, this guy knows some things. You just knew that he knew what he's doing. He had a good broadcasting voice. And when I had reached out to him about the podcast, I fully acknowledged that I was hoping he would teach me some things about interviewing people and just letting me get a little bit of knowledge into his tenured career and learn some things along the way. Of course, between myself and a little help from my husband as well, who's a producer, we taught about Bob a few things as well, using a new program and things like that, but it was very much the other way around. He taught me a lot in our first few months of doing the podcast. So it's tough. It's tough to be back here without him. We do want to continue to bring the podcast to our members and all of those who listen. And we want to keep sharing the stories of Wisconsin agriculture, which I know Bob wanted wholeheartedly as well. So we have an episode here. This episode was recorded back in December. And we got to talk to the Brockmans, who are cranberry growers from the center part of our state. So we're going to hop into the episode and just know that this is really meant to honor Bob's legacy and to give us just a little bit more time to hear his voice and get used to a world without it.
Whether it's around the country or your town or county, decisions are being made every day that impact real people and real communities. Welcome to the Rural View, where we open the window for you to view Wisconsin farmers and rural residents and get a glimpse into the challenges they face. And we welcome you to this version of the Rural View. Our guests today, Bob Meyer, along with Amy Eckelberg, and our guests are Warren and Jennifer Brockman from Wood County, members of the Wood County Farm Bureau. First off, tell us a bit about their operation. You raise cranberries.
We do. We're third-generation cranberry growers. The farm was started in 1947 by my grandfather, and my father worked his entire career on the marsh. 42 years he worked there, owner-operator, and I graduated college in December of 1995 and worked with my father 5 years together. And then Jennifer and I bought his share of the company, and we've been there ever since.
How many acres in cranberries?
56 acres.
All right. That's enough to keep you busy. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Definitely busy.
Yeah. It's a very extensive crop. I mean, I don't think people realize what it takes. They see them flooded, and that's about it.
Right. Everyone sees the harvest picture.
It's year-round.
Yes,
it's year-round.
Year-round.
It's cyclical,
commitment.
Year after year.
And what people don't always realize is the cranberry bud for the next year's crop is set in the fall. So you have to protect that through the winter. And if anything could possibly damage that bud, that you're risking your entire crop for the next year. So there's work that needs to be done all year long.
One thing I learned a few years ago and I didn't realize is that it's a rhizome, and that to rejuvenate a bed, you disc it.
Well, you actually cut the vines. The bed that you cut them from will rejuvenate from the roots. And then that's how you will propagate new cranberry beds, is you take the cuttings, disc them into a new bed, and they will shoot roots right out of the side of the vine. And that's how you establish a new cranberry bed.
This is a crop that was very, very controlled in how many could grow, how many acres were planted, and so on. You've been quite successful successful in doing that with cranberries, haven't you?
We have. We've grown the marsh significantly in the last 20 years. We've been on the marsh together 29 years, and we've added new varieties. You have to constantly evolve as a farmer because markets change. What used to be considered a good crop is no longer a viable crop economically. So you have to be willing to adjust as new varieties come, new uses come. And you have to, if you try to stay as you were, you won't be in business long.
So what are some of the new varieties? What are the characteristics?
Well, we actually grow a couple varieties that were developed by the University of Wisconsin-Madison. One is called High Red. That was their first release. And then another one is called Sundance. It was basically a cross between a Stevens variety and a Ben Lear variety. And then they initially wanted something that colored early and had really good rebud so it would have a consistent crop year after year. And that's how they developed High Red. Sundance is actually the same parent, Stevens and a Ben Lear, but it is a later ripening variety. And that selection, for whatever reason, the fruit was much larger, still colored well, but just colored later. And we've been able to renovate our older varieties, many of which were just wild varieties that were propagated. And now with the new hybrids on the same ground, we can double our production. And, I always joke that the cranberry price never seems to go up, which, but as a farmer, you learn to adapt. And by growing more fruit on the same ground, you're able to stay in business.
So what kind of yields do you have? What were the old standard yields and what do you have today?
When my father was growing cranberries in the 1970s, he started in the 50s, but in the 1970s, I remember I was just a young child, and he said, if you can consistently grow 100 barrels to the acre, and a barrel is 100 pounds of cranberries, you'll do fine. In the late 80s, early 90s, you had to grow at least 200 barrels to the acre if you want to stay in business. And now the market's to a point where if you're not consistently growing close to 300 barrels to the acre every year, you're going to struggle.
It's difficulty, right?
I was going to say, what's the profitability? What range where do you run into the black? At what level?
It varies for every farm. Every farm has their own
Cost
reduction. And you have to know your numbers. So I could give a range, but like I said, every farm is different. And then every structure is different. A family farm that we don't have any other outside full-time employees. I know that other farms, they rely on hired help. And so their cost reduction is going to be completely different than what ours is. Now, as we get older, we're looking at wanting to bring in the next generation. And we're having those real discussions of we add more acres so that we can afford to bring someone in, one of our kids in or hire outside help because financially, the system's working right now. But if you bring in labor is expensive. And so that's a discussion we're continuing to have.
Now, if you expanded, would you build more beds or would you look to buy existing beds?
I would most likely build more beds. We're not at that point where we want to do that yet, but we have the land base and the water reserves where we could build more cranberry beds. But right now, I think before I would go that route, I would probably renovate some of my older varieties into some of the hybrids and try to just grow more fruit on the existing ground.
So how do you introduce a new variety in an existing bed?
Well, you have to completely, renovation means completely removing all the vines and root mass from the bed.
Oh, so you take everything out of it?
Everything out. We usually haul in sand. Cranberries really like to grow on well-drained sand. And the new beds we tile, all the practices of growing cranberries has improved over time. And that's what's led to some of the increases in yields too, is that all the beds are laser leveled. They're tiled. And so you remove all the old vine mass. You haul in about 12 inches of clean, weed-free sand. And then now with our hybrids, we would most likely cut vines from existing beds, disc them into the new sand, and then they're all irrigated. Cranberries have to be irrigated with frost watch and whatnot. But that's basically you from the top down to completely redo the cranberry bed.
So what are the biggest threats? I mean, weeds. What are some of the things you have to do for management?
There's the biggest one I would say is frost.
Sure, okay.
Frost season starts, like I had mentioned, the hybrid, that is already starting to grow the end of April. So frost watch starts now, the middle of April. That frost season in our area usually runs until about the 20th of June, believe it or not. And then we have a few months of relatively no frost. And then about August 20th, frost season starts again. And it'll go continuously till harvest. And every year is different. But frost, I would say, is the major risk. But we have tremendous insect pressure. We have cranberry fruitworm. We have Sparganotus fruitworm. We have cranberry fireworm. We have flea beetle. There's all kinds of pests that love to chew on cranberry.
Any type of root diseases at all that are from?
There can be like stem gall and other there's cranberry girdler. That's a insect that will actually attack the root system. But there are diseases out there that do affect cranberries. We've been fortunate that Wisconsin is a very low disease pressure state for cranberries. But yeah, there's risks.
Is that partly because of our climate? I mean, obviously you can only grow cranberries really in some of the state, but do you think that has to do with that?
I think it does. I think cranberries benefit from having the 4 seasons. You have that winter time where the vines are able to rest. We flood them and encase them in ice to protect the buds. And some states, such as New Jersey and whatnot, where they don't get as severe a winter, they suffer a lot from disease pressure in those states.
How's the market been?
Market's been tough. I like to joke that, and it's a joke, but it's the truth. We're still getting paid what cranberry growers got paid in the 1970s.
So you have to make it up in yield.
You have to make it up in yield. So the market's been very tough. There's products out there that are in the development chain, but it takes a long time to bring a new product to market.
There was a time when they I believe they had a year's worth of cranberries in storage. Is that still the case?
No, we're much more imbalanced
They
now.
are keeping.
There's been a lot of effort in marketing the crop and trying to avoid those situations where there's an oversupply, because an oversupply doesn't help anyone. It really doesn't.
Yeah, actually, people admired cranberry growers for how they controlled their market. And then there was a couple of things, blurps in the market, in the radar, I guess, were the best way, but got it back into control anyways.
Well, I have to ask too, why do you enjoy growing cranberries? Obviously, you have to keep doing it year to year, right? So we talked about the pests and all the challenges in the market, right? So those are all the not so great things, but what brings you every year some joy?
I love the land, number one, where we live, where the farm's located. I've grown up there. I'm really bonded to the farm. And then there's something about watching something grow and develop and getting to that. All your work throughout the year, you always put your best foot forward and try to do your best. But there's so much hanging in the balance with weather and just so many things out of your control. But when you get to that harvest point and you see that crop come in, there's just such a sense of satisfaction that you're doing something real. You're doing something that helps everyone. You're providing food. It's just all that wrapped up together. And then knowing that my grandfather had the vision, my dad built it into a viable business, and I'm still carrying that on. That means a lot.
Yeah, very special. And you guys incorporate your family a lot. You said you might have some family members interested in continuing this too. So talk a little bit about the family involvement and kind of just what that means too.
Well, when we have 7 children, and when the kids became old enough, which is for us on the farm, when they were 10 to 12 years old, they would start helping out with summer work a little bit. And I always told them, I want you to work on the farm, but at least one summer you have to work somewhere else other than the farm. So they've done all kinds of summer jobs, from weed whacking and mowing and pulling weeds, and they've helped with planting.
With filling rock bags.
Yeah, we would use burlap bags full of rock as erosion control around bulkheads. And so
I grew up picking rocks, so that's a different take on that rock job as a kid. That's interesting.
And they've all helped with the harvest in the fall. Harvest has always been kind of a high stress but fun time of year. And we still have our adult children who have moved on to their own careers that they'll take vacation from their job just to come help with the harvest. So that's been really a blessing. And I'm hoping that at some point we can work the next generation.
So usually how long does the harvest take?
We kind of have our harvest split. Since we have the early varieties, they're already ready to harvest the middle of September.
Okay.
So we take about a third of the farm in September, and then the rest of the farm we harvest in October. So we have about a week's worth of harvest in September and 2 weeks in October. We're not the fastest harvest crew because we use older equipment, and I'm more concerned about getting quality fruit into the truck rather than getting it in as fast as possible. So if it takes us 3 weeks to harvest, I'm fine with that.
So is it easy to damage the berries as you're harvesting?
You can have equipment damage if you go too fast. A lot of growers use berry pumps, and if you run the berry pump too fast, you can actually damage fruit. We use an elevator system because it is more gentle on the fruit. Also, I like to run equipment that I can fix myself. I tend to lean towards some older harvesting equipment, or I build certain machines myself, and that way I'm able to maintain it on my own. Part of the key to being a successful farmer is being able to fix things yourself. If you have to hire everything done, that gets really expensive.
Well, it's kind of neat to know how it works anyway.
Right. Absolutely.
And you might have said this. Are you selling fresh fruit, or are you going into juice or?
We do processed. We sell, our fruit is made into dried cranberries.
Okay.
And then also juice. We keep some fresh fruit for our own use, but otherwise 100% of the crop is sold as processed.
Through the facilities at Pittsville?
No, actually, there's a cleaning station that I use in Nakusa, and I sell to 3 different companies. I sell to Mariani Dried Fruits, I sell to Graceland Dried Fruits, and I sell to American Berry
So do you sell on contract or do you sell on open market?
contract.
Contract.
Yeah.
Annual contract?
They're usually 2 to 3 year contracts, and then they usually have an evergreen clause, so which would make it a 4 to 6 year contract.
So when are the prices established for the contract?
That's not in the grower's favor. They establish the price after harvest.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You can't put them back.
No. Mm-mm. It's that's the biggest issue with being an independent farmer in the cranberry industry is you are kind of at the mercy. You are a price taker, not a price setter with processors.
So what percentage of the growers are independent?
About 20%.
It is, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ocean Spray represents about 80% of the
I
industry.
knew they were big.
Mhm.
Yeah. You mentioned Frostwatch. I was thinking that was the name of the bar in Babcock for how
It
long?
was.
Right, it was. Yes, it was.
Well, I wanted to take a minute too to talk about. I know you guys have created quite a presence on YouTube, and just sharing your farm story, sharing the ins and outs. And I did watch a recent episode around deer hunting, so I feel like I got a little glimpse into your family and what you guys are all about. But just talk about how that came to be. Like, why the motivation to share your farm story? Why invest in YouTube of all the different social media channels? Just kind of talk about how that came to be and how does it feel to put it all out there too?
Okay, so that was a lot of
A
questions.
lot of questions, yes.
A
So
lot
let's
of
just talk
questions
about
there.
it all.
So,
Yeah.
so the first question you said, what was the motivation
Yeah.
for sharing the story? It actually, sharing the farm story at first wasn't really the full goal of YouTube. I didn't go into YouTube well thought out, which is frowned upon, I guess. But I was just kind of throwing things out there. And I did find that cranberry farm work was resonating with my audience. They were liking that. And we didn't really want to share as much at first. Warren was honestly, like most farmers are, they're pretty
I didn't
private.
want to be on camera.
Mhm.
They're very private. They don't want people knowing their business, why they're doing things the way they're doing. And so at first it was kind of like, well, you can maybe show the cranberry farm, but we're going to be still pretty private about it.
Mhm.
But as people started to really enjoy little bits and they would ask more questions about cranberry farming and that, gradually it he saw the benefit, wow, they're actually they're invested in knowing about cranberry farms. And when people start saying things like, I'm going to buy more cranberries this year because of watching your videos, or I'm going to start liking cranberry sauce now because of watching your
That's
videos,
pretty
that
cool.
kind of thing,
Mhm.
kind of helped the situation as far as sharing more of the farm story part. And, so it just kind of started there.
So how did you start with YouTube? That was kind of my second question.
Oh.
Why did you pick YouTube? Was it the longer form that you needed? Was it just convenient? Was it something you were like, I'm just going to try it?
It was really just something I was going to try. I watched a video just on accident, really. I was searching for a recipe. I went to a website. On that website, it said, watch me make the recipe here. I had never heard of YouTube. I didn't know anything about YouTube. It took me over to that channel. I watched her video and I started kind of looking through the other videos that she had. And, you watch a little bit of that one, a little bit. I was like, I could do that. And as like I said in just the talk that I was just giving, I like to teach, I like to talk, and so it just seemed like it was a good fit. And I knew that we had some uniqueness about us in the sense that, the fact that we were cranberry farmers, that's unique. We had 7 kids, that's unique. We homeschooled those 7 kids, that was unique. So there's just some of those things that I thought that could be interesting to people. It could be interesting to kind of get that story. And like just the teacher part of me, I thought I have a lot of experience with homeschool, so I could do homeschool content. I have experience with being the mom of a large family, so I could kind of share that. And it just kept growing.
I always say she's my rock star because she, when you work on a farm, you're not always clean. You're kind of in your zone, and no matter whenever she puts me on camera, I'm always thinking, oh, that was awful. And she will always make me look good. I always say she's my rock star.
That's a wife's job.
Make him look good. Yeah.
That is my
She
job.
always makes me look
I'd like you to introduce you to my wife.
But talk about that content a little bit. You obviously have your segments, and you knew that you had kind of these niches. But for anyone, it's the title is A Country Life, right?
Correct.
Is the title of your YouTube channel, and just talk about like how you approach your videos. Because I mean, they're pretty long. I think the one I watched was more than an hour. So like, what does it take to put that together? Because that's not a short thing.
Okay, so just approaching the video first, 'cause there's a few different styles of videos that I do. So let's just say I'm going to do a video that has more of a theme, so I kind of start thinking, okay, what kinds of things need to be in this video? So like let's take a cranberry harvest video, for example. That won't necessarily all be filmed on one day, but I might think, people are going to find it interesting. They're going to want to know about water because everybody's interested in where do you get all that water from? So I need to make sure that I kind of approach that issue of water. I need to approach the issue of they're also going to be interested in who are all these people that are working. So you have to kind of balance, not everyone wants to be out there, but you kind of balance, that people are going to be interested in how do the cranberries get off the vine? Like, how do they grow? So you just kind of like think through some of the steps, like what are people going to want? What questions have they already asked that I can answer, and then just film. And then from there, it takes a long time. Editing takes a long time to just kind of like figure out how you're going to put this together in a story.
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to be a story that's going to be engaging and answer some questions and maybe stir up some memories, maybe give people a reason to want to go buy cranberries, that kind of thing.
So how did you get people to first go to your website, to go to YouTube, and how do you promote it?
Today,
when you started out?
Yeah, well, when I started out, I didn't do much promotion. I didn't really do much promotion. I just kind of figured I'm going to put these videos out there and hope that somehow they get seen. Not recommended.
Organically.
I mean, that's not recommended to do it that way. Like I say, I just kind of threw videos out there and hoped that something would stick. But one thing I did do is that, at first you're getting like 85 views. And then a video gets 115. Well, oh, that one's better. So you go and you do something like that. You're like, I'll do another one like that. Obviously, they liked the cranberry stuff or they liked the cooking. I'll do another one like that. And gradually, you just kind of keep watching. And
so the one I watched, the one with on Cranberry Harvest, and the kids are involved. And so do you get a better response when the kids are involved in a video?
From older people, absolutely. One thing that was very surprising to me, because when I started the YouTube journey, I really thought that I was going to be reaching moms probably a little bit younger than me. Like people that were kind of looking for someone who's already kind of been there, done that, and give kind of some wisdom of just life, that wasn't it. It's the older generation that I really reach. And it's amazing how many people are out there that they love the kids, of course, right? They love the kids. Their kids have moved away across country. They don't ever get to see their kids. And they kind of it sounds kind of weird, but they almost kind of like adopt the kids as their grandchildren. They send gifts.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dart guns and dartboards and puzzles and books,
Christmas cards.
And so, yeah, people of course, they love the kids, which brings up the topic of how much of your kids do you share online?
Yeah.
You know, that's always.
How do you know where do you draw the line?
Well, I wouldn't ever want to make them look bad.
Right.
So anything that would make them feel negatively embarrassed or.
And you ask the kids if they
I will ask them.
want to be on the video. And if they say they don't want to be filmed,
I don't film them.
Yeah.
Or,
So
you
you
know,
give
I
them
let
the
them know.
choice.
I say, hey, you know, I'm filming in the kitchen right now. If you don't want to be in the video, then you got to stay on that side of the camera. You know, give them that choice. Just, I guess I'm just quite aware of like their privacy. You know, you kind of have to be aware of their privacy and what they want shown.
Does their ability to be on camera, does that change from an age? I mean, I'm thinking, you know, a 12-year-old girl doesn't want to be on camera.
Correct. Our youngest daughter is 12, and there are many times when she's like, I don't really want to be filmed today, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. 13-year-old boys, though, they love to be on camera.
Maybe
They love to
doing
ham it up.
anything
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything. In the background, they're always doing things.
their dance moves.
I go to edit, and I'm like, I didn't even know that was happening. They're back there doing things or whatever, but I figure, well, they put themselves in that spot, so they must be okay with it.
So have you gotten any pushback on some of the things you've done?
Like from viewers?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I have a big one.
What is it?
Bear hunting.
Bear hunting was big
my
this
son,
year.
My son and I drew bear tags this year. We both shot bears off the property, and you had some footage of us with our bears back at the shop, and there were comments.
People did not like that.
Only a few comments, though.
Only a few. I mean, if you figure there's like 140 comments, there might be 3 where they don't like it. And we've gotten that on deer hunting videos in the past. I'm not out there filming the hunt, but like I say, I film the family part of it. Everybody coming in with the deer at the end of the day, and you know how that goes down, and you know the community exactly. And I've gotten pushback on that. Have we ever gotten any pushback on farm related? I don't
Not
think
really.
anything
No.
farm related though.
What's the biggest question you get? Like, is it water use? Is it, you know, what do you
Farm
feel-
related or the YouTube channel?
Well, like, what's your number one farm question? And then in general, what are people most curious about?
We get asked, are there truly wolf spiders in the
Yes.
everything?
That's been a big thing for you
That
guys.
has been a big
yes.
thing.
And I will say that the cranberry beds are full of spiders, but not giant wolf spiders.
Yeah.
Do you remember how they came to be?
I
Like,
have
why that
no
is a thing?
idea.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you kind of listen to some of those videos, a lot of them are AI. That voice and everything is AI. So I think it's just people trying to be kind of goofy
Yeah.
and make it. I'm not sure, but yes, we definitely get that question a lot. Another question that is kind of interesting is questions about frogs. One person actually asked if cranberries could be considered a vegetarian item because they saw frogs jumping around like out in the harvest.
So they
was
couldn't be.
They
That's
Well,
what
they assume
They
the
were
frogs made
thinking-
it to the process.
I
That's
was
not the
like,
case.
That was an interesting
So
question.
you get some frog legs with your...
Yes.
Right. It
Okay.
was a little far-fetched question, I thought, but that question has come up actually a couple times, which is kind of funny to me. Otherwise, what questions? I do get the question if I'm going to do a cranberry cookbook, because through the YouTube channel, I have then created or published 2 cookbooks. That's one of the things that really resonated with people was food. And I've gotten the question a lot about a cranberry cookbook. So like just that, not anything else. So we'll see. That question has come up a lot too.
Been the most rewarding thing that has come of you sharing your story?
For me, it's the emails that I get from people sharing usually they're a pretty sad story, but it might be something like there was one particular I'm thinking about. These 2 sisters had written me an email that their mother was in like a dementia unit or something like that. And the only thing that would kind of bring her out of her dementia shell or something was watching my videos. And so they would just play my videos on rerun for their mother because she loved seeing the kids and she loved the farming. And they said it like made her like actually start kind of thinking a little bit and that. And I mean, a really long email, and just that their mother had passed away, and they were just sending me this email, just like, thank you for, I guess, being there for her last months and everything. And so those are really rewarding because again, you go into it and you're like, I'm just going to be sharing my story and answering some questions. You don't realize how it's going to impact to a deep leveled
Mm-hmm.
people's lives.
People resonate with your content and who you are, because she's always said from the beginning, I want to be real. Doesn't mean we're perfect, but we're real. And people resonate with realness. And sometimes you do get comments of people who maybe don't agree with the way you do things, but you have to just let that go and just, be real. And you have a lot of comments from people where you really change their life.
Right.
That you give them inspiration and motivation to do things in their own life. And when you read those comments, I always say, you're a rock star, because look at what you're doing to these people. You're actually helping them get out of their own shell and maybe pursue something that they're passionate about, but we're always feeling held back. And
like when I was preparing for the talk, I was reviewing some older comments, and I ran across a comment from a lady who had said she had never cooked a Thanksgiving dinner. And from watching my Thanksgiving videos, she was like, I can do that. I can do that for my family. And so she actually made like a Thanksgiving dinner. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet, and that was not on my radar when I started. Never once did I think I was going to get teary because somebody was making a Thanksgiving dinner.
So when did you first realize you've become part of their lives?
I think I first realized it when we got our first Christmas card, or the first letter actually in the mail. So I have a P.O. box, so if I can ship things, I can use my P.O. box address. And when things started coming to the P.O. box, I was like, people actually took the time to write a letter or to send a Christmas card. And you're like, I'm definitely, and then they'd send pictures. Not only did they just send a card, but they actually send their family photo, and you're like, yeah, I'm part of their life.
Yep.
And it kind of can sound weird to some people, like stepping over, like you're overstepping a boundary. But when you're in it, you're like, it's real. It's real. It's really special.
I was going to ask, what advice, we always share with farmers. I work in communication. We're trying to have them tell their story. We want them to be out there. What advice do you have to people, whether it's they are posting on Facebook or they are going to start a YouTube channel? What advice do you have to farmers to share their story? Why should they be doing this?
Well, I guess the first advice I would say is to be real and to be themselves, knowing that they're going to offend people, but they're going to find their people too. So just be who you are. Don't keep trying to change each day. So be who you are. And then the why is that, just the farm stories have to get out there. They have to be there as, what do we see happening? Farms are getting bigger and bigger. And even though they might still be a family farm, people are getting further and further away from those.
Only 3%
farms.
of the population is involved in agriculture.
Yeah.
And we have to tell our story and show people that there's value in what we do.
And value in what the farmers are doing, but value also, they can recreate some of that value. People watching your content, they can recreate that by having a garden. Again, people leave comments. For the first time in my life, I got 2 pots of tomatoes. They're like, they're just thrilled that they grew their own tomatoes. And you're like, okay, maybe they didn't go out and start a cranberry marsh or start a beef farm, right? But they grew tomatoes, and that is such a joy. We find a joy in growing our own, whether it be on a large scale with cranberries or growing a garden or raising chickens or whatever. But to inspire someone else to do that is so great. So that's the why that I think sometimes is overlooked. Why share the farm story? Not just because they need to know where their food comes from, but maybe they'll go and do something small and see that the greatness.
And the farm story has to be told by farmers. Otherwise, if farmers don't tell the story, someone else will, and they may not get it right.
Right.
You want, and goes to being real on your YouTube channel, is you want people to see what's really happening. Now, it doesn't mean you have to show them everything. You have the power to edit your videos, so whatever your family's comfortable with as far as what you're putting out there. But you want to tell a real farm story.
Yeah.
And I think that if we want to, not to get political, but if you want to have policies that help farmers, you have to tell the real farm story.
How do you determine where's the threshold? What we tell, what we don't tell, what we show. We don't show them shooting the deer, but we're showing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
How do you draw the line?
I guess our daughter got her first deer this year, our youngest daughter, and she had a little clip in her video that said there will be a dead deer shown in this video so that people can brace themselves.
Trigger
And
warning.
if that's something they don't want to see, they know, they either have to not watch it or at least go off of it before the end. And so,
I think that goes back to being aware, like, we're showing what we do, and that might be something that you're not comfortable with, but having that empathy with people who are different than us. Because, during hunting season, if I scroll through my social media, I see a lot of dead deer, but that might not be everyone's cup of tea.
Exactly.
And we have to realize that if we want to connect with people that are different than us.
Right.
Correct.
How do you show reality, but still be discreet about it?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that it kind of works itself out gradually as, each time you're thinking about what is it that I want to share? Is this going to work for my audience? That's another thing too, is once you have built up an audience, you do kind of, you kind of get to know your audience. You're like, well, I'm going to get 3 bad comments. I know I'm going to, but that doesn't take away from the other 147 great comments. And so I'm going to share it because it is real. And I think that's the thing too, is, real is real. Even if a person doesn't like it or it's not pretty, it is still real. And you kind of have to just decide what your personal comfort level is with what you share. There's a lot out there, right? You scroll through, like on Instagram, there's a lot of farm. I follow a lot of people in ag in different formats, and some keep it very light and some share the nitty gritty, and you kind of have to figure it out what's right for you.
And we even had that conversation, and I'm going to go back to the bear hunt. Our son got his first bear, and I even said to you, because she was filming when we brought the bear back to the shop, and I said, do you really want to put this on your YouTube channel? Because I know there's going to be people out there that maybe don't agree with bear hunting. And she's like, I want to be real. This is our family. We haven't done anything wrong here. We harvested a bear. And so she put it on her, and we got a few bad comments, but you have to just roll with it and be real.
So how do you handle criticisms?
Pretty much ignore it. That's what I do. If somebody actually says something, like let's say in a comment we're talking about, and they actually say something about one of my kids, delete. I just delete it. That's it. If they leave another comment, block. I just block them. So YouTube has a couple different ways that you can block. You can block people where they can still leave a comment, but it doesn't show up on your channel.
They don't know they've been blocked.
They don't know they've been blocked, or you can just block it where they can't even type a comment. So I just block. And I've only had to do that, I think, 2 times, maybe 3. But it doesn't stop them from setting up a new, they could set up a new username or whatever. And if they really wanted to, people don't want, it has to be easy for them to leave a negative comment. They don't want to go through a lot of work to do it. So they don't, but that's pretty much what I do. I don't typically respond to negative comments. If I'm passionate about it, though, I might. I can't, I'm trying to come up with that one.
Yeah.
I did respond to a couple comments last winter, I feel, but for the life of me, I can't remember what they were now. But I did respond just kind of like, hey, this is what we're doing, or whatever it was about. And I did address them. But for the most part, actually, you know what happens? My supporters come out for me. Typically, and they defend me. Underneath that comment, they'll be like, hey, knock it off, that kind of thing. So sometimes it works out really well. They kind of defend me and I don't have to do anything.
Well, really appreciate the conversation today. I did not warn you about this, but we do like to wrap up our member episodes with a little rapid fire. Just like pick one or the other. They're not anything too scary.
Okay.
Great.
But I was going to just cut Bob past that here. So the first question is chocolate milk or white milk?
Oh, white milk.
Chocolate milk.
Or maybe you'll have conversations on the ride home too about these.
This is a mixed marriage.
It has to be whole milk, though.
Yeah, that is the best.
Yeah.
Red or green?
Green.
Okay. That's probably a good thing on the same page. Planting or harvesting?
Harvesting.
Better.
Harvesting.
Okay. What is your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Favorite sports team, whether it's local or any?
Packers all the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Packers.
I'll just agree. It doesn't matter to me.
And what is your favorite cranberry item?
I'm partial to cranberry and Malibu.
Oh,
Cranberry
that
juice
took a
and
turn.
Malibu.
I was like, oh, okay.
I was going to say, is cranberry wine an
It's your-
exception?
Oh, absolutely.
You wanted
Wisconsin
reality.
product.
It is a
You wanted
Wisconsin.
reality? Here we
Yep.
got it.
There, you got
Reality.
it.
Yeah.
You got it.
That's a real answer. Yeah, but that's all I have for quick fire questions. Just really appreciate the conversation today, and thanks for joining us.
And the videos are available.
On YouTube at A Country Life.
Very good.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
having us.
you.
Thank you so much.